is Derek Lunsford doing Pittsburgh Pro?
Here's the biggest name. Now, again, this is just rumor. I do not have it confirmed, but I'm hearing a whole lot of buzz out there that Derek Lunsford himself is throwing his hat into Pittsburgh, and that's going to ruffle a whole bunch of feathers. I'm hearing Regan Grimes is in there.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, Derek Lunsford potentially doing the Pittsburgh Pro. Now, right now, this is just a rumor, and this came from not only Derek just posting on his Instagram story, I guess responding to a question. He says, Derek Lunsford doing the Pittsburgh Pro, and he tags the Pittsburgh Pro, and he doesn't say yes or no. He just says, And then, in addition to that, on a recent episode of the Olympia TV YouTube channel, Bob Ciccarello said that he also heard a rumor that Derek Lunsford was doing the Pittsburgh Pro. And on top of that, Derek posted a little physique update today that looks like he's obviously still really dialed in after the Arnold, and he's still got a little over 7 weeks to go until Pittsburgh if he does choose to do it. I think this is absolutely awesome if Derek does do it. Derek was on a mission to get momentum back, to get his name back in the conversation after dropping to third at the Olympia, and he did that just earlier this month at the Arnold Classic, defeating Samson Dauda, the reigning Mr. Olympia. And for Derek to really hammer home that point that he's back and he's here to stay, doing Pittsburgh, I think, is the move. And I think it's going to upset some people because he's definitely, I think if Derek does that show, he's almost certainly taking away a qualification from Nick Walker or Martin Fitzwater, because obviously Derek doesn't need to qualify. Well, for one, he won the Olympia, so he never needs to qualify again. And for two, he just won the Arnold Classic, so he qualified this year. So he's double qualified. So if Derek does this, and he wins, he really hammers home that statement that he's back and he's coming for the Olympia title, because essentially, if he wins this show, not only did he beat Samson in Ohio, but he beat essentially all the other top Olympians that would be a threat to him except for Hadi Chupin. So I think this is an awesome move if Derek does it, because then the conversation becomes, not only did Derek beat the reigning Mr. Olympia at the Arnold, but if he does this show and wins, which I think if he looks like he looked at the Arnold, he would win this show, then now going into the Olympia, Derek can say, not only did I beat Samson, Mr. Olympia, but I beat essentially everybody else between the Arnold and Pittsburgh, with the exception of Hadi Chupin. To beat the champ and then also beat essentially all the young guys that everybody is talking about as being future or potential threats to the Olympia, Martin, Goodvito, Nick Walker, Derek would really make the conversation entirely about him going into the Olympia 2025 if he does this show and wins. Not only that, but he shows a little bit of a different side of Derek, a Derek that competes in more than just the Olympia and competes when he doesn't have to compete. And maybe a little bit of a more competitive side of Derek. Like I said, the Phil Heath dream crusher aspect of this, dream killer aspect of this, where he's taking away a qualification if he does Pittsburgh. If Derek does this, he's applying pressure to all these guys, and that's what I think we want to see from an Olympia champion. And I think that's what people appreciated so much about Samson Dauda, is we saw him compete in multiple shows outside of the Olympia, especially before he won. Plus, there's the incentive of another six-figure payday if Derek does do this show. And of course, it's not without risk, because it's not a guarantee that Derek would win. I think if he looks how he looked at the Arnold, he would almost certainly win. But it is bodybuilding, so there is always the risk that he's not going to win, and he does have a lot to lose if that's the case, because then that really stifles a lot of that momentum that he gained by beating Samson. If he gets beaten by, a third or fourth best in the world guy, Nick or Martin, then you know the saying, you're only as good as your last show. People are going to remember that and not remember that he beat Samson a few months before that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, we've got a couple physique updates going into Pittsburgh and also going into the Arnold Classic South America that we need to talk about here. So first, I want to talk about this latest physique update of Goodvito, shot from the back. It's a back lat spread shot, which of course I'm going to compare to Nick Walker's that he also posted today because both Goodvito and Nick are doing the Pittsburgh show. But it's worth pointing out that Goodvito is 2 weeks out here from the Arnold Classic Brazil, which is the first weekend of April. And it looks like he's not doing Detroit. I've heard rumors that he was, but it just wouldn't make sense. I don't think he's going to do it, and he would only be a week out here if he was. But we know that he's doing the Arnold Classic South America. He plans to do Pittsburgh and then also New York. So he is trying to get to the Olympia in 2025. And overall, a very impressive rear lat spread for him. He looks like he's in really good shape. You can see a lot of detail. When we saw him in Detroit, that's what we saw. When he competed against Martin Fitzwater, crazy detail, crazy conditioning, and a ton of size. So again, when we do these comparisons, when I put him up next to Nick, just keep in mind that he's 2 weeks out. Nick will be 7 as of tomorrow. Technically, we're 2 weeks in a day, 7 weeks in a day for each of these guys, but tomorrow will be exactly 2 and 7 weeks. But as far as the Arnold Classic Brazil goes, that's probably going to be Goodvito's best shot at qualifying for the Olympia. I haven't really heard much at all about this lineup in terms of top guys that are doing the Arnold South America, and I know that Rafael Brandao would be the defending champion. He won last year. He doesn't seem to be doing it. Goodvito is honestly the biggest name that I heard, so he might get this early qualification in the South America show, and then it won't be as big of a deal if he doesn't win Pittsburgh in New York, which is kind of crazy how spoiled we are starting off this year. Is typically you have the Arnold in the beginning of the year, and you're not really talking about a big show lineup until New York. But this year, we've got Detroit, the Arnold South America, and the Pittsburgh Pro, so we haven't really talked much about New York even at all, aside from the fact that Regan Grimes seems to be doing it. Because I think Goodvito is a really good bodybuilder, but as far as beating Derek Lunsford if he does the Pittsburgh, yeah, I think maybe he has a shot with Martin and Nick, but Derek Lunsford probably not. And who even knows what's going to happen here, because the Pittsburgh and the New York are so close. If Derek comes in and just dominates the Pittsburgh, what's stopping him a week later going to New York and doing that too? But let's go over to the new Nick Walker update. Also a lat spread. Again, Nick would be 7 weeks out and not 2. It's worth pointing out here that you can't see his hamstrings. You can't see his glutes. He's still got his shorts on. You're just looking at his upper back here. But if you put it next to Goodvito, that's why I'm saying I think Goodvito has a shot against maybe Nick, against maybe Martin, but not against Derek. And I said a couple videos ago, who's going to be the guy, who's going to be the bodybuilder of 2025 that's really going to change the conversation and be the new guy that we're talking about all the time as maybe being the next big thing, the new guy that really inserts himself into the conversation. Goodvito, I feel like, has potential to be that guy in 2025, even though he made a pretty big statement last year in 2024. Goodvito has the structure, he has the condition, he has the genetics, he has the size, he has the freaky body parts. He has that potential to be a major disruptor in 2025. And when you compare him to Nick Walker, again, 5 weeks of prep different, that is significant. But when you've got a guy as big as Goodvito bringing detail and condition like that, it's a very dangerous bodybuilder to go up against. And I'm not saying I think he will beat Nick or Martin in Pittsburgh. I'm just saying I think he's got a chance. I think he's good enough that he could be in the mix with those guys. And he's already proven he was good enough to be in the mix with Martin at last year's Detroit. But like I said, I think we're a little bit spoiled here. We get a really exciting start to the year. But let me know what you guys think about the Pittsburgh Pro in the comments below. Derek, Martin, Nick, Goodvito, Krizo, Bonac. And I did want to say also, just yesterday, I saw Wesley Vissers confirm on his story that he is doing Detroit. So there was a little bit of discussion in an interview with him and his coach where he was thinking about taking a break, maybe skipping Detroit, shutting it down for a while. He did post on his story and say he will be honoring that commitment to do the Detroit show. So it looks like we will get to see Wesley versus Matt Grego, the rematch, in Detroit just next weekend. So for Classic Physique, you're looking at Wesley, Matt, Jack Eagles, who I mentioned earlier in the last video for men's open bodybuilding in Detroit. I think you're really looking mostly at Bonac as the favorite to win that. And also, I wanted to throw in here, we did get another update from Krizo. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Pro earlier in this video, we did get another update from him in the last 24 hours where he was showing off, again, this is the arm that was injured. This is the arm that he had the surgery on. This was the arm that was all mangled and screwed up, about 6-7 months ago. And again, I'm just amazed looking at these updates from Krizo, him showing that arm that we saw bruised, atrophied, like a third of the size of what it used to be, seeing how quickly he was able to bring that arm, the whole arm is back like it was never gone. And it's really just incredible to me. So we have that to look forward to, the Pittsburgh. We should have on Monday the lineup for Detroit, the official lineup for Detroit. And then the following Monday, then we should have the official lineup for the Arnold Classic Brazil. So we should be able to talk a little bit more about those lineups in the coming weeks when we have the full confirmed competitor list for both of them. But the final story that I have for you guys today, another new physique update from still your reigning defending Mr. Olympia, Samson Dauda. Posing in his new gym, he says he's testing out the new mirrors there. Looking massive as always, and it makes me wonder, what does the future hold for Samson Dauda? He said he's taking a little bit of a break. Does that mean he's shutting it down until the Olympia? Because, again, he's already qualified. He doesn't need to compete. The same with Derek. But we know that Samson likes to compete outside of the Olympia. He's coming off this Arnold Classic loss, and Derek looks like he wants to continue to make a statement, especially if he does Pittsburgh and keeps competing. And I feel like part of the statement that Derek is making is, I'm here. I'm not hiding. I'm going to keep competing. And this is, again, if he does Pittsburgh. And typically, that's the statement that Samson is making. So I wonder if Derek does do this Pittsburgh show, if that's going to draw Samson out to do another show before the Olympia, even though he doesn't have to, just to be, similar to what Derek's doing, say, I'm still here. I'm not gone. But I don't think we're going to get a better lineup for the rest of the year until the Olympia, aside from this Pittsburgh show. This is the best lineup we're going to see for the rest of the year, I think, hands down. Which is why I think it's a smart move if Derek does this show and Derek wins, he gets to essentially say, look, I beat everybody. Well, almost everybody. I don't think Hunter Labrada is going to be here, and then also Hadi Chupin. But between the Arnold and Pittsburgh, Derek will have essentially beaten all the top guys going into the Olympia, including the reigning Mr. Olympia. And Samson, I feel like Samson does enjoy that momentum of going into the Olympia off of a win. Whether it's the Arnold or another show, Samson usually is going into the Olympia with some positive upward momentum. Like how he won that show in France right before the Olympia this past year. So I guess what I'm wondering is, are we going to see Samson compete again before the Olympia in 2025? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.